Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
Chevron 1, coded.
For my ally is the Force, and the powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow.
You failed, Your Highness. I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Cry hammer, and let's set the dogs of war.
Chevron 2 is coded.
Conan, what is best in life? Crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentation of your women.
It's all in the reflexes.
I'll also say that you're heavy into martial arts, Tai Chi and all that killer stuff.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
Chevron 3 encoded.
And somebody ought to belt you in the mouth. But I won't. The hell I will.
Chevron 4 encoded.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
Chevron 5 encoded.
You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Chevron 6 encoded.
Not for while you can, monkey boy.
Great Scott.
Back off, man. I'm a scientist.
You shall not pass! I thought I'd die fighting side by side with an elf.
What about side by side with a friend?
A day may come when the courage of men fails, when we forsake our friends and break all bonds of fellowship. But it is not this day.
Chevron 7 is locked.
Hail and howdy, everybody. Welcome back to Saturday Night Drive-In, where I am so happy to be talking a good movie today. I needed to talk about a good movie because I've done nothing for the past 24 hours but talk about a bad movie, but that's a different conversation for tomorrow on the round table, 2 p.m. Eastern. Hello, old friend. How are you?
I'm living long and prospering because today was essentially a Star Trek day for me. I was able to finish my rewatch of the original series today, had the last 2 episodes to watch the motion picture and Wrath of Khan all in one day.
Man.
And you recently described the motion picture to me as ship porn. And I never thought of it that way, but it is
You understand it now.
true. I
You understand
understand
it
it completely. It was funny when I mentioned that we were going to be doing Wrath of Khan on Tuesday night's main event this week. Someone in chat was saying, "You're wrong. Wrath of Khan is not the best Star Trek movie. The motion picture is."
Oh,
and
that's categorically incorrect.
I didn't say anything. I wanted to rewatch the motion picture because I'd only seen it once, and yeah, I don't agree with that statement whatsoever. I mean, there's a lot of issues with that movie.
Here's
in
the thing.
plot as well.
Motion picture, and we're maybe someday we'll go back and watch it, but it's not in the cards right now. Motion picture is great Star Trek, but it's essentially a longer TOS episode is what it is.
Mhm.
And there's nothing iconic in motion picture except for like V'ger and the bald chick.
Well, is it the first appearance of the main theme that we see going forward? Because
Yes.
the original series had
It's Jerry, that was
That
the first
alone
time Jerry
makes it
Goldsmith.
iconic, I think.
Jerry Goldsmith first introduced what became the TNG theme in that.
Mhm.
But honestly, it was used in this, and it wasn't used again for a decade. It was a decade before they would use it again for TNG.
I feel like this might be my headcanon, just brainstorming which was going on behind the scenes, but I see the motion picture as Star Wars came out and they realized, oh, cinema sci-fi is big. Let's brush off one of our old IPs with Star Trek at Paramount, and they rushed to make something really quickly. And yeah, it did fairly well. I think it reinvigorated the franchise to justify its sequel, and then with the sequel, they were able to get better talent involved and not take their time necessarily because it was only 4 years. So I guess they had more time than they did for the first 3 years. But
I think what happened, I mean, you look at motion picture, and I guess we're going to get into this now. Hail, howdy, the chat, everybody. We're glad you're here. Let's talk some Star Trek. You get into motion picture, and you realize they didn't come in with a real plan
No.
for anything. They just like, let's just make Gene Roddenberry's like, hey, let's just make a longer episode. And that's what it is. And they didn't even think about the aesthetics because you abandoned the colorful nature of TOS for
That's one
these
of the worst parts
drab
of it.
uniforms that everybody's
Even
in.
the Enterprise interior doesn't look that great. It's
Yeah,
very
and this
bland.
is the original NCC 1701, which is in Wrath of Khan. It's just been refitted with stuff. So you've got your Enterprise that you know, but you don't have there's no soul to motion picture. It's lacking that heat and that's power. And then you take a break and you come back here with Wrath of Khan, and suddenly it's like, okay, wait a minute. You know what? People like motion picture, but I don't feel like we did a service to our fan base. Let's go back to it was a one shot, but let's go back to one of everybody's favorite episodes, Space Seed, and let's find out what happened to Khan. And let's make a movie out of that. And let's get some of the best writing you're ever going to get. Let's give everybody some meat to chew, and let's let Shatner be freaking Kirk Shatner on camera. Let's redesign everything. Let's introduce the red jacket uniforms. I love the red jacket uniforms.
They're great.
I
I don't like the normal uniforms, like the jumpsuits that the everyday crew are using, but the dress uniforms from this era are
the
just
officer
phenomenal.
uniforms.
The
Officer uniform. Yeah, the red jacket is fantastic, and I've always loved the red jacket for that era. It's great, and I love it. And let's make a dark movie, because motion picture is just, hey, something weird out there, and let's have it on a sort of a happy-go-lucky. Oh, we create a new life form because he's gonna have sex with possessed bald chick who's V'ger. Yay! No, let's make this dark. Let's make this full of anger, and let's prove we could pick up an old storyline and have it mean something. And let's bring back Ricardo Montalban. Let's bring back one of the goats. And let's have some fun.
And it's graphic too.
Oh yeah,
there is a lot of blood in this movie, which hasn't been in the franchise up to this point.
Stay real. Spock is melting at the end of the movie. He's literally melting.
And I love that aspect of it. It feels way more visceral. Like the stakes, I think, are a lot more realized, especially just the bodies that they're finding, the ones hung up partway through the film by Kahn at Espelon Station.
Alive.
There's so many horrible things that Kahn does. Then, dude, I love Space Seed, but we don't really get to see Kahn.
You don't know the monster that he is, dude.
Exactly.
The basically, he says the earwig alien creature. Those things. Do you know how many nightmares that gave people when you're young and see that shit? Real quick, Sam 8000 for $2. Thank you, Sam 8000. Undiscovered Country is best dark movie. That is an opinion that is valid. Undiscovered Country is fantastic, but it's number 2. It's number 2. Wrath of Khan still holds it for me. It's Wrath of Khan, Undiscovered Country, First Contact, and then it's my sentimental favorite. I can't put Voyage Home up there because Voyage Home is a silly movie. It's a fun movie, but it's a silly movie.
It's very silly.
But it's my sentimental favorite because it's the last one I saw with my grandma. So
I haven't seen Undiscovered Country in a long time, so I'm not sure where that would rank. But I'm doing a full marathon. I'm hoping to get through Picard season 3 is the goal. Ending, obviously. Probably gonna watch Enterprise. Maybe not watch Enterprise. But
you don't need to watch. You don't need Enterprise. You don't.
I'm at least going through Voyager and then Picard season 3. Enterprise, I'll make the decision when I get there because I thought Enterprise was fine. I don't dislike it.
I like season 3, the Xindi arc. That's about it. That's about it. But yeah, Undiscovered Country is a great movie. I didn't love it at first, and we'll do Undiscovered Country at some point. Trust me, I didn't love it at first. It took time for me to get older and appreciate the story it was telling, and understand the gravity of what they're dealing with. Now they did retcon some shit going to TNG because it was airing at the same time as TNG, and of course Pink Blood. But the funny thing about that, and we'll talk about that when we talk about it, they needed to have Pink Blood. What was it? I think they needed to have Pink Blood because they couldn't show real blood for some reason. Again, I don't remember. It was some weird thing about that. There's some story behind why the Klingons have pink blood, and then you get TNG and Worf bleeds red. There's some cockamamie reason they needed to do it. Maybe it didn't show up or something. I'm forgetting. Anyway, we'll talk about that. We'll find that out when we do Undiscovered Country down
It's
the
the
road.
last effects of the disease wearing off made it pink. It's been another 100 years or what, 80 years to TNG. So what was that disease called that they
there is.
retconned in to explain the
I don't
redesign of the
know.
Klingons?
No, I don't know because all we know about it is this: in the fantastic season 6 episode of DS9 where they go back in time for the Tribbles episode, Worf just goes, "We don't like to talk about that." That's all he says. We don't like to talk about that.
I mean, Enterprise does address it. I think the plague is in
Enterprise addresses it, but that's Enterprise dealing with it where you should have just don't talk about it. I like Worf's answer. We don't talk about that. we don't talk about that. I love that. I don't know because when you get to because funny thing is, Wrath of Khan is the only Trek movie where you don't see a Klingon. When you think about it,
Yeah,
Wrath
you're
of
right.
Khan.
My brain was getting scrambled with the motion picture there for a second, but yeah, I don't think we do.
Because motion picture, there's a Klingon cruiser that gets overtaken by V'ger, and that's their first redoing of the Klingon.
See, there are a few great things to come out of the motion picture, like the redesign. I love the redesign.
Yeah,
and
forehead
the
ridges and all
theme.
that stuff. And here's how you know. Of course, again, this is spoilers for DS9. Here's how you don't talk about the disease because General Core, who appeared in TOS and reappears in DS9, he has all his ridges just like Worf does. But in TOS, he's just Mr. Dark-skinned man alien. So we don't talk about it. We don't talk about it because how do you explain Core and Kang looking like they do? But anyway, point is, you have a Klingon in motion picture. Of course, there's no Klingons in this. Of course, you have Klingons in Star Trek 3 with Christopher Lloyd. You have Klingons in Voyage Home because because the Klingon ambassadors in that one going after Kirk. There is a Klingon in Star Trek 5 because the Klingons are hunting the Enterprise during that. And of course, you have Klingons in Star Trek 6 because they're a major part of the plot. And then, of course, every TNG movie has Worf. So this is the only Star Trek movie that does not have a Klingon in it.
I don't know if this is controversial, but I've always liked the Klingons more than the Romulans.
How can you not love Klingons?
Yeah.
How can you not love Klingons?
Romulans are really great, especially in, I can't remember what the episode's called, but the TOS episode where it's basically submarine warfare.
It's the Force, who
ends up playing Spock's dad later on.
Yeah.
That episode is incredible.
That's a phenomenal episode.
I feel like the potential, the narrative meat for a warlike mirror to the Vulcans isn't ever really explored to the degree that it could. So I think I could like Romulans quite a bit more if we got a chance to explore the Romulans. But the Klingons we get so much development on, and they're just
Klingons.
So
I mean, Frank is right in the chat. The Romulans, you never get a lot of them. We don't know anything about the Romulan Star Empire outside a few episodes in there. Reunion, the two-parter with Leonard Nimoy. You don't get much of that. And the Klingons in TNG and in DS9 get so much freaking lore expansion to what they are. So I mean, I love Klingons. Worf is essentially my favorite character in Star Trek. Worf is my favorite character. I love Worf.
He's an excellent choice.
Phenomenal story. So many great one-liners. Michael Dorn is the only person out there who's not insane. He just wants to be Worf. That's all he wants to do. He just wants to be Worf and have fun and be good to fans. So I love Klingons, and Worf is my favorite character. I love it. But let's get back to this. So it says, listen, we open the door to talk Star Trek, and this is what's going to happen. We're going to go
absolutely going to happen.
And I think he is not a merry man. I am not a merry man.
I can't wait till my TNG watch because that's my favorite Star Trek period. Shows, movies, it's TNG.
I did my rewatch last year, and I'm in the middle of DS9 right now, so I can't restart that because I'm doing DS9. But no, it's so good. And this is the point. When you talk Star Trek this, and I don't feel bad about us going a little tangent here, because how many times can you talk about Wrath of Khan? Always. I mean, we could always talk about it, but this is a discussion we had before. We've done it on a previous incarnation of this very show. So, I mean, we have to find new and inventive ways to make this interesting. And I have some ideas today. I don't think I brought them up last time we talked about this, but I have some good topics to go down this because we're not going to go through a blow by blow this movie. Everybody knows Wrath of Kahn. The whole idea. Okay, they find him. This is SETI Alpha 5. They find him. They don't know it's SETI Alpha 5. They can set Alpha 6. He takes over Reliant, lures Kirk with Genesis. And then you have all the great shit that happens. We know the movie. What we're going to do today is we'll talk about characters. We'll go down a few Star Trek rabbit holes, and we'll talk about how great this movie is. But I still have criticisms. I have 2, maybe 3 criticisms that do drop it in my rating today. I
have a couple as well.
Yeah, there are legitimate criticisms that do not make sense in terms of Star Trek lore. Granted, this is they haven't exactly expanded on all the lore we have now back then, but it still doesn't make sense when you think about it on a galactic scale and some things. You know what? I'll bring up my first point. Just let's get them out of the way. I'm going to get my criticisms out of the way so that we can just talk about the fun shit. All right. I have 3 criticisms. I'll go one, then you go one. Okay. How's that sound?
Okay.
My first one is when after Carol Marcus sends out the distress call, which is all about Kahn's plan to lure Kirk in there, jamming it. Kirk has to then, when they're on their way to, God, I just forgot. I just had it. I forgot
Epsilon?
it. Yeah. When they're on the way to the space station where Genesis is being held, what Kirk has to update Spock and McCoy as the next 2 senior officers. Because remember, there's always the argument, who are the senior officers on the original Enterprise? Kirk is, of course, now Admiral Kirk. So he's the Admiral. Spock is currently captain of the Enterprise. Then you have, technically, McCoy is next in line in seniority in terms of command. Then Scotty. Scotty's after that.
Well, that is a change from TOS because in TOS, Scotty was consistently the one taking the con whenever Spock or Kirk wasn't around. Bones never, even when he was there.
I mean, well, here's the thing. Bones doesn't have command experience. I'm talking about senior
just
officers.
In rank.
Seniority, rank. Bones does have a higher rank than Scotty, but Scotty is technically 3rd in command in TOS on the Enterprise. And right now, in this situation,
I really like the development in TNG of command experience, like explaining the red uniforms in that one means, yep, you have command experience. You can take command of the Enterprise in a situation like this.
Yeah, so. and that makes it such a great story later on when Deanna wants to actually level up and not just be a lieutenant commander counselor, but wants to actually get rank up to commander, but she needs to take all the command stuff. That's a great episode right there. But anyway, back to this. So when Kirk is getting McCoy and Spock updated on what Genesis is, Carol Marcus says, in dealing with our problems of space and food and places to have homes, it's the freaking galaxy. There are planets everywhere. There are habitable M-class planets everywhere. What are you talking about? That you haven't fully... The Federation has a lot of room in it.
With Star Trek lore, I can agree with you. I mean, every episode of the TOS is a different habitable planet, but in real science, in real world physics, she is correct that habitable planets are extraordinarily rare, at least from our observations at this point. And I feel like this movie was trying to ground this universe a lot more than TOS ever did with stuff like that, with even the planetary formation, making sure that it was set in a nebula at the end. Obviously, Genesis is accelerated well beyond any grasp of real science, but a lot of the scientific accuracy is stronger in this film than we've seen in nearly any other Star Trek. So I think maybe that's what they were trying to lead in towards, is the explanations of the Great Filter or the Fermi Paradox, excuse me. So that might have been real worlds leaking in, but that's probably not a good idea after seeing so many planets.
And terraforming does exist in Star Trek. There are terraforming projects. So I don't know.
None as quick as her. It's
no,
a
Genesis
missile, and
that's
then
why
a day later you're good.
That's why Genesis is so radical in its thing. But so that always bothers me in a science fiction setting, which is said that there are worlds habitable out there. Granted, not in the alpha beta quadrant, which makes up general Star Trek, because that's the distance that you can travel between Federation, Romulans, Klingons, Cardassians, the major powers that exist in the Alpha Beta quadrants. I find it so hard to believe that when she makes that statement due to the setup and barring real world theories, real scientific theories that we have now, which I know is what you ground your stuff in. That just bugs me. It loses points because it doesn't make sense in
It's
what we've seen.
inconsistent with the established rules.
Yeah, exactly. So that bugs me. So that's one of my 3 complaints. What's your first complaint?
My biggest complaint of the film is the justification of Kahn being in the film. I find it incredibly coincidental and just not supported by science or world building. Chekhov knows SETI Alpha 5. He knows SETI Alpha at least. Why was
even though he wasn't in that episode?
I know that was weird. Like what's his bucket? Khan recognized him. Like I don't remember.
He was a crewman at that point.
He was just in the background or something.
Yeah.
but he obviously knows what the Botany Bay is. So at least even if Kirk didn't put out a buoy or a message that says, "Yeah, SETI Alpha system, don't go there. It's quarantined" or some shit. Even if Kirk didn't say anything, Chekhov would be on that ship saying, "Hey, we need to be careful. There is a colony on one of these planets. We need to be careful." If they had gone the route of him not being in that episode like we saw and not remember anything, that would help a little bit. But then you have the added thing of Planet 6 blowing up. So you think Planet 5 is number 6? You need to blow up Planet 4.
I mean, here's that is a problem. I agree that is a narrative problem with the movie. That
just the justification to get him
involved. This is lazy Federation. This is lazy Federation. Clearly you've been out there. If Kirk was out there and dropped a colony of people on there, you know the SETI Alpha system. So is it not on the charts? Did we forget about it? And for anybody coming in, we're criticizing Wrath of Khan. Are we heretics? No, we're getting our very few critiques out of the way so we can have our joyous conversation after. We are not shitting on Wrath of Khan. We are not. These are like the little things that bug us for the umpteenth millionth time every time I watch this that I can't unforget. So that's a good point, and that's something
there's
I have
a lot of
noticed as well.
issues with it though as well, because in an entire galaxy, the people who rescue Khan happen to be a former crewman of Kirk and his former girlfriend being involved in the project that's central to the film. That's just how big is the galaxy? It makes the Federation feel so small, and that is a problem with both the motion picture and this one. They both say the Enterprise is the only ship in range to deal with V'ger or this.
That's carrying over a TOS thing. When on a previous Star Trek show I was a part of, we had this discussion about how many ships exist in Starfleet at this point. And it made it pretty clear during TOS. Jed, you just finished watching TOS. You can kind of confirm this for me. You get the feeling there are not a lot of Federation ships. Starfleet doesn't have a massive
explained
fleet.
In that one. Their 5-year mission is to discover new worlds, so they're in unexplored regions for the most part. So they're beyond Federation space for a lot of that series. So that's explainable. I don't like that they find 1 million Earth clones. That's ridiculous. But in TOS, I think it's explainable because it's specifically a 5-year mission to unknown regions.
Yeah. So at this point, I think that they were always a little rough on how big is Starfleet. How big is the fleet in Starfleet? Because for the first time ever, we've seen we get a Reliant class ship. I forget what the Reliant class ship is called. I always call it Reliant class. That's a nerd fail. I know it's a total nerd fail. But then we get in 3, we get the Excelsior class, the first Excelsior, which becomes literally the backbone of the entire fleet going forward. Because as they ramp up over the next 100 or so years, as Starfleet starts to expand, the Excelsior becomes the backbone of the fleet, the Excelsior class ship. But we don't see that until 3, where she's that new spangled thing that Scotty hates. I love that. That is amusing in that one.
Scotty's such a great character. I think he's underutilized.
Miranda class.
I think Scotty's underutilized in the show and the movies.
Jimmy Doohan. I love Jimmy Doohan. Computer. Hello, computer. That's my favorite line from 4. He's got some of the best lines.
He made the Jack the Ripper episode good. I think the Jack the Ripper idea is ridiculous, but he was great in that one.
Anyway, so the idea that there are so few ships is troubling in this as well. That only one that's going to go out to Space Station Regular 1 and check out what's going there. I can forgive it because Kirk will, of course, take the ship out there because he is clearly one of the people overseeing Genesis. I think that goes unsaid. My next problem. Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if he is overseeing it because
I said one of the people.
Right, but Marcus's son has never met him, never interacted with him. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, there's that Boy Scout that you knew back in the day. That feels like a long period of unfamiliarity.
Is
like
he
Marcus has never seen her.
Is Marcus necessarily one dealing with Starfleet of Time? No, it's Carol.
Even they talk. Carol and Jim act like they haven't seen each other since before Marcus was born.
Then her reaching out to Kirk.
Well, she reaches out to Kirk specifically because Chekhov mentions it's Kirk doing it.
You're right.
So that's what involved. So I don't think he was over Genesis. He knows of Genesis, and then Chekhov.
All right, I take that back. You're right. He's more read in on it than anything. He's read in on it. Anyway, so he's going to go out there. My next thing is when we're on Genesis. This one always bugs me. So it's after my favorite scene, after the first contact with Kahn with Enterprise vs. Reliant round 1, which I think is the best thing in the whole movie. When they go down to regular 1, and then they follow the transport trail to the tunneled out cave. After everything's done and Chekhov has been relieved of the earwig, everybody else F's off to the cave to get something to eat. And Kirk and Carol have their private conversation, and Chekhov is just laying right there. He's just laying right there. Please don't notice me lying here. It's like I have a hard. There's also, I noticed yesterday first time, an edit that I missed, a bad edit in that scene when Bones is criticizing Kirk, or maybe it's somebody else criticizing Kirk about something. At one point, or maybe it's Savick, I don't remember. Kirk has his glasses on, and then it cuts back, and he still has his hands folded. It's a bad edit, and it caught my eye yesterday when I was watching it. But that always bugs me that they're having this super intimate conversation about their family that never was, family unit that never was, and Chekhov is just right there. He only had one ear. He still had another ear open. Grom. He has 2 ears. One ear works. It's just kind of weird that he's awake, and he's fully awake because he's holding the compress up against his ear. Chekhov's fully awake in that moment. That just always bugs me.
Yeah,
he sends everybody away to have a private conversation with Carol, and Chekhov is just still there. It's just
there's more wrong with Chekhov as well, and they mentioned it in the chat. I don't remember who did it, but Chekhov admitted they put things in my head, and Bones didn't immediately.
That's a Bones fail. That's a Bones fail. Total Bones fail. You're right. But so yeah, that's my little thing. All right, what's you have another one?
I have several more minor ones. I don't like Genesis at all. And that's more me coming in from the scientific perspective again. It's just unrealistic that within minutes or hours you're forming these things. And I have a problem with how Genesis connects to the search for Spock. And that might be more a criticism for that movie.
Yeah.
But they specifically
mentioned Spock is a rough movie. That's a rough movie.
They specifically mentioned in this movie, if there is any life in the vicinity of Genesis, it will be deconstructed and reconstructed in the pattern that Genesis wants it to be. So why would that resurrect Spock?
Well, it's like I consider that, to talk about that, they don't fire his coffin torpedo until after the planet's been fully formed. So maybe there's residue. There's residue.
I can't buy his resurrection at all. I swallow it because I love Spock, what he ends up doing in the rest of the movies, and you need to have it, and the death scene and the eulogy. The eulogy gets me every time. Human. I love that.
I know. It's great. It's great. It's great performance. I guess we'll come back. I mean, I think there's another little half thing, but in our ranting, I've forgotten it. But those are like my limited criticism of the movie. They're tiny things.
There's a couple other real small things I have a problem with. I think the next big thing that I have a problem with is Marcus. I don't like Marcus at all. And not as a character, not in like what he offers. I really just can't fucking stand Marcus. That's why I was on the Klingon side in a certain later movie.
Oh, no, you Klingon bastard. You killed my son. Klingon bastard, you killed my son. Listen, Marcus is a dick, but you still have a good father-son moment at the end. Here's where I come around for Marcus. He's been a dick the entire movie. He's been a complete dick. But when they're heading towards the Motaro Nebula, and Kirk has cleared the bridge, except for Cesar Marcus wanders in there, and I always look at that and think, okay, he is now going to watch his father in his element, and I think he gets an understanding for who his father is when he watches everything go down on the bridge, the final confrontation, essentially, and how Kirk navigates it all and lists everything, and then of course seeing the reaction after Spock dies. And I think that's why I forgive Marcus's dickery, because I think he understands his father in the end, and he realizes that he was wrong, and being the one to go to him before they leave the Genesis, what did we retitled the Genesis system, and have that very excellent talk about death, which is one of the best quotes ever. Because let's jump to that. The way this movie deals with death is a fantastic plot on how do you deal with grief? How do you deal with death? How do you deal with death as something that looms over you as you get older? And the whole thing starts as Kirk feels old. I'm gonna great line by Bones. Get back your command before we become part of this collection. And that's a great collection. I love that collection.
It was a really good
That's
collection.
good.
And yeah, it's Death of the Spirit is what Kirk was fighting off of. And it is a reused plot point from the motion picture, him, trying to get back in the chair. And I love the way that it talks about growing old, that sometimes you don't have to let go. A lot of films try to treat getting old as the next logical step, and you have to accept it completely and just learn to move on. And that is of value, but there's a certain point with certain people and certain professions or whatnot that can't be denied. Kirk is not alive when he's not in command of a starship. So he needs to die at the helm. He needs to die on the bridge. That is his life. And that's not exactly what happens, but
it's kind of it's a code of Patton. A warrior should die from the last bullet in the last war. Patton quote. And that's essentially Kirk. Kirk, his one best destiny, as Spock says, is to be in command of a starship. That's what you should be doing. Because Kirk's he's not an administrator. He's a captain. He's a captain. He's an explorer. And that's what he is. And by accepting promotion, I mean, that's one of the things about motion picture. He is a dick in motion picture. He is there to steal command of the Enterprise for that mission. And on this one, that is a good little carryover. On this one, he's like, no, Spock, you could be command. He's like, Jim, I'm your friend, and I have no ego to bruise. Don't worry about it this time. You're a senior officer. This is an emergency situation. You have to be.
And it's not a brand new Enterprise that he's unfamiliar with.
Yeah, and it's still the same Enterprise from last time, but it's been refitted again. It's a little bit of a little bit darker Enterprise, but it's been refitted again. And what we get now, though, is now Kirk is the shadow of death, but then all this stuff happens, and then you get Saavik questioning. Of course, once again, we have mentioned the introduction of Kirstie Alley. Kirstie Alley is my Saavik. She is my Saavik. She always will be. It is such a shame they couldn't get her back for the return in the next movie, because Kirstie Alley was so good in this movie. This is her first movie.
Really?
Yeah, it says introducing Kirstie Alley. So this is her first movie.
It's a good first outing.
Yeah, and she's great in it. She's great in it. I love it. She's hot too. That's young Kirstie Alley. I got to get my Star Trek thirsting here somewhere, guys. Come on, give me a break.
She's the best option in this film.
Yeah. And what you have though, is that she asks him, "How do you deal with stuff?" Talking about the Kobayashi Maru test on 7. It comes around about to death, and Kirk gives a line: "How you deal with death is also how you deal with life." But then all the way it comes around after all the death, everything after Spock dying, David comes to him in his room and says, "You really haven't faced death, have you?" And all this stuff. And Kirk sits down and says, "Yeah, you're right. And this is one of my favorite lines in the movie. You're right. I haven't faced death. Not like this. I've cheated death. I've tricked my way out of death and patted myself on my back for my ingenuity." And that is so true. You just watch TOS. That is the standard Kirk. Cheating death, tricking his way out of the worst possible situation, then going, "I'm a Chad, baby. Yeah." And here it is now. He did something. He has just faced something that he couldn't worm his way out of, that Spock literally had to save the day by sacrificing his life. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one.
And
And he
that's
had a
why
hard time with it.
I've heard people say that the Kobayashi Maru should be removed from this film, and like Savik's story, or what, the Vulcan, what's her name? The one you were just thirsting over, her character name?
Savik.
Savick. Her character could be cut out entirely, and that is just so wrong to me because this film, the Kobayashi Maru, fundamentally depicts the theme of the film. It's central. Wrath of Khan is Kirk going through the Kobayashi Maru for the first time, and then with the younger crew getting tested for the first time, it is a passing the torch to the next generation, dealing with getting old but deciding not to let go yet. There's so many aspects of this film that tie to this theme, like you're talking about, of death and how to deal with it. And whether or not to let go sometimes, because the Kobayashi Maru wants to see where you let go
It's a
when you
test of
give up.
character. It's a test of
Exactly.
character.
And that ties into his career as much as it does into facing the grief of the physical death. That's what this film is incredibly tight from a thematic standpoint.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and you
yeah.
need all these elements. The Kobayashi Maru could have just been a throwaway intro, like, yeah, we need them to do something, have some random simulator. No, if you cut out the Kobayashi Maru, this movie is entirely different.
Did you know once upon a time there was a Star Trek game? There's a NES game where you could do the Star Trek Academy and you could take the Kobayashi Maru. And no matter what you did, you can't beat it unless you use a secret code to play as Kirk. And then you can beat it. It's the only way you could beat the Kobayashi Maru is if you are Kirk in that situation, because he is the only one that ever defeated it. And it stems to his, like you said, his attitude. I don't like to lose. And that's the thing. Look, to compare this to, we were talking about this on Wormhole Watch, the whole Picard episode. Picard wants to change his reality at one point when his artificial heart explodes, and Q gives him that chance to repeat his life mistakes, the moment where he lost his real heart. And there are these moments that define you. If you are going to be a great Starfleet captain, if you're going to have that drive to helm a ship, to be in that chair, to be in the big chair, to issue commands, you have to have a certain edge to you, especially if you're going to be one of the greats. Kirk didn't like to lose. I don't like to lose. I'm not going to lose. I will do everything possible to win. Picard, a young Picard, willing to be careless with his own life, to take that risk, ends up getting stabbed through the heart by a Nausicaan over a game of Damjat. That thing that defines your character going forward, that Picard coming so close to death in that moment, being dead for a moment, that allowed him to not have fear about going out to explore the unknown, to be in the chair. Kirk has no fear because his desire to win gives him that drive, that fearlessness. So these are defining moments, and understanding, like you said, you take that stuff out, you lose the characters here. And that's why, and this is such a tight script and a tight movie. I caught a line yesterday that I'd never heard. I'd heard it, but never penetrated. And I laughed. And I always chuckle, but I really laughed because we'll talk about the Kobayashi Maru, where the first time Savick confronts Kirk in the turbo lift and says, "Sir, how did you beat it?" And Kirk diffuses it by having the whole joke about humor, and she doesn't get it. Humor, such a difficult concept. And I never caught this. And Kirk says, You do by learning. You understand by you understand by doing. And I was like, I never caught that line before. I was like, that's so good. It's just a tiny little line. You understand by doing. You learn by doing. It's like, that's good. That's so good. And she's just standing there going. And then Bones comes in. She did something with her hair. I hadn't noticed. It's good. Just works. And I love it. And then
the dialogue is so strong.
And then it's like perfect callbacks. After the Genesis meeting, where Spock is logically analyzing what Genesis does, Bones goes old school Bones. You inhuman, green-blooded son of that's old school. You green-blooded, inhuman. I love it. It's just great. And it works. And you only get that because these characters are so well developed. and they're given stuff to work with. This is a Kirk movie, it's a Spock movie, and it's also a Kahn movie. And of course, whatever issues you may have with how Kahn is reintroduced, I think it was brilliant to resurrect Space Seed like this.
Oh, absolutely. That was the correct choice. I don't think there were any other villains that live up to Kahn in that way. There's some other great villains. I like Apollo quite a bit when they briefly had him, but yeah, you can't go better than the man that has a lot of the same ego as Kirk. I do see a mirror between them, and Khan is kind of a combination of Spock and Kirk, in my opinion. The ambition and pride of Kirk with the intelligence of Spock, and all their worst qualities also being weaponized against them. Because this is a Spock movie, like you said. A lot of these movies don't focus on Spock as much as they could. Like the motion picture, he was just kind of there for the whole time. And Spock's relationship with Khan is so subtle because they didn't have a whole lot to do with each other in TOS, but their little interactions, the overlooking Spock is Khan's one of his greatest weaknesses, because he doesn't see intelligence without arrogance. So if Spock had been super arrogant and been like, hey, I'm actually just as smart as you because I'm a Vulcan, Khan would have taken him seriously. But the fact that he was more than willing to sit back and let Kirk take the lead, and that's what shows the weakness of Khan.
Khan's obsession with Kirk. All he sees is Kirk. He doesn't realize that Kirk works because Kirk trusts his crew. It's not Khan doesn't. It's a great parallel here. Kirk trusts his crew. In that moment, it's also that great episode, like the TNG, where Picard gets kidnapped by the aliens who want to study people, and they replace him on the Enterprise. And at the end of the episode, Picard is able to trap these aliens with just glances to the bridge crew, because a good captain trusts his good crew. And Kirk in that moment trusts Spock to come up with something. He trusts Spock to get it done. When he says command code, Spock knows instantly what to do. And then in a very perfect moment, Kirk turns it into a teaching moment for Saavik. On a starship, you have to know how things work. And you have to understand that this is what we do to protect ourselves, but this is also a weakness if somebody does know it, and we're going to hijack Ryan's computer to turn off her shields. And it's just so good at Kirk trusts. He trusts that Sulu, when he's ready, will get the shot done. He trusts that Scotty will repair shit in his miracle worker way. And it's great. It's great.
Star Trek as a franchise needs to be ensemble. We can't ever focus on one character, because it's the Enterprise and the people of the Enterprise that make Star Trek. And we trust these characters just as much as Kirk does. I trust Sulu to take the shot, like you were saying. And I love the scene in particular that you're talking about, because it highlights Khan's flaws in a great way. They could have just said, oh yeah, he's a genius, so he knows everything and he's smart. But he's from 2 centuries before. There will be gaps in his knowledge. And that's was
Z-axis, baby. Z-axis.
You don't think in 3 dimensions if you don't have experience in it. And that was a lot of his downfall in the show as well. But Khan can't be expected to know all of Star Trek. All of Starfleet procedure to know about the code. They're more than capable of sitting down in front of a console, figuring out what it does, and being able to do it well with the shields and weapons and piloting and all that. But there's just not time or experience to back that up. So that being his downfall is great. They don't go too far with Khan's intelligence. He's vastly more intelligent than Kirk, but Kirk's experience is the victor in the end, and it's just such a great dynamic.
And on the parallel written. When Khan gets introduced, these don't try, Terrell, to convince these people to go against me. They were loyal to me 2 centuries before you were even born. And right there, those are all just loyal toadies. They're not going to actually help. They'll help Khan do everything, but they're not going to have unique thoughts. And every time he hears a unique thought, sometimes he'll listen. Like Joachim does tell him, we can leave the Enterprise for now after the battle. We'll go repair. She's not going anywhere. But then, in the key moment at the end, going into, the Watara Nebula, no, sir, we go in there, we're going to lose shields. He says, no, damn you, go. It's just, Kahn's
Well, it's
obs-
only
yeah,
after
yeah,
Kirk egged him on. He was willing
yeah,
to listen for a few
yeah.
seconds, but then his
Sauce
ego,
for the
his
goose,
hate.
Mr. Savick. Sauce for the goose. But now, since we're in that, my favorite scene of the movie, which also, after being my favorite scene, my half a thing that does bug the hell out of me. I'll get to that then. Is I love the Enterprise versus the Reliant in the beginning. It's just Jerry Goldsmith. That is the peak music in this, the peak of the score in this. Dun 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 dun. Dun. It's so good. Leading up there, the music, the tension is building, the music is rising, crescendo there, and Kirk is just, and one of my favorite lines is, "Damn peculiar." I mean, he's puzzled, and Kirk, and here is a small mistake that Kirk makes. Kirk doesn't assume that another Starfleet vessel is going to be a threat, and he gets caught with his britches down.
Mm-hmm.
And Savick was right. Shields up. There's a problem here. But Spock makes a mistake right there. A rare mistake by Spock, too. Not letting her follow through on that and give the suggestion to Kirk. Point is, though, it's so good. They come together, then it's fire! And then you have all that stuff happening, and then the back and forth on the view screen, which is incredible. When you line up against Space Seed, in this moment you realize, as opposed to Space Seed, where you had their face-to-face so many times, the verbal fencing that they do in Space Seed, where Kirk tricks Kahn into revealing who he is and all that kind of stuff, and then their final confrontation in engineering, where there's that really good fight. In this one, they never physically come face-to-face. It's ship to ship, view screens, audio. They never come together. It's such a great upgrade from the last, because it's the intelligence not to just repeat Space Seed.
Mm-hmm.
It's the intelligence. Just we already had a physical confrontation when they were both much younger. Why are we gonna have these two old men have a fight? Don't worry.
And this is Star Trek. We don't need to end it in a climactic fist fight anyway.
Which is what they do in Search for Spock. I have had enough of you.
It just isn't necessary because, Star Trek has always tried to be intelligent, fairly intelligent, and that plays out here very well. It's a battle of the minds. It's not a battle of the physical. And I think it would have degraded this film a lot for me if they could contrive some way of like, oh my God, I got to go get Genesis off of that ship. And oh, Kirk, I'm going to beam over there on my own and then fight Kahn over there. That would have just been ridiculous.
But so it's so great. And then it allows the personality of the Enterprise versus the Reliant, these two ships, damaged, very heavily damaged, fighting what they do. I mean, we talk about current day Star Trek, or at least when it was good, where you get the DS9 and the special effects have been upgraded so much that you have the dynamic fleet battles that you get in DS9 with the Dominion War. In this one, these are just kind of naval ships passing each other and lobbing cannon fire. And it works. It just works. And then you get the back and forth. And of course, there's a reason, if you watch my regular streams, at the end of every countdown, time's up. Here it comes. And I love that, but of course it fits with that. But I love that moment. That is such a glorious moment where Kirk has skillfully manipulated Kahn's ego into buying himself just enough time to turn the tables. Captain, you did it. I did nothing. I simply got caught with my britches down. I mean, it's and that's again the comparative to Kahn and Kirk. Kirk learned in that moment. I screwed up. I should have listened to you, Savick. You keep right on going, quoting regulations. You keep doing that. It's just so well done across the board.
Yeah, Kirk has an ego, but he's more than capable of learning from his mistakes and growing. Because I don't think the TOS Kirk would have been able to survive this film and win. Because we saw Kirk a lot of times in TOS get angry and start to hate a little bit. He wouldn't have had the self-control, I think, to do a lot of the things he had to do in this one.
And you're absolutely right. And this is Admiral Kirk. This is a man who's seen war at this point. He survived so much. He explored a chunk of the galaxy. He knows this stuff. And he intelligently wins, and he keeps intelligent winning. That's how in the final battle, Motaro Nebula, he wins through intelligence. But I before we leave this scene, I have to say this is one of my other criticisms, which narratively doesn't make sense. Now, There are two versions of Wrath of Khan out there. There's two cuts. There's the cut that we generally watch now, the cut I have on my shelf behind me, where Kirk goes to engineering and he has the joke when he first comes on board and he jokes with Scotty, let's do this, that. And it cuts to immediately, we'll finish the tour later. There's another cut that I once had on DVD where you learn that engineering crewman that is so vocal is Scotty's nephew, his sister's youngest.
That does change the context of bringing his body to the bridge.
Well, not only that, but it still does. That's my problem, though. Why does Scotty bring him to the bridge? Bones isn't there.
Doesn't make sense.
It's just done for it. They did it for shock value, and it doesn't make sense. If he had gone straight to med bay, he could have sick bay. He could have maybe had a better chance. But that's why I always recommend if you can find it. Unfortunately, it is not the one that I have. I was hoping it would be when I re-upgraded to Blu-ray.
Yeah, the director's cut. I watched the theatrical as well.
The director's cut has that in there. So you realize that when Scotty is so emotional in that moment, that's his flesh and blood right there. That's his nephew, his sister's youngest that just died. And in that moment, he is so proud that while the others broke, his nephew stayed at his station and tried to do his job to the bitter end and cost him his life. And so it's both, you understand the emotion, but at the same time, the pride in that moment. And when you cut out that segment, you lose that. So that's why the director, this is one of those times, if you can get it, you get the director's cut because you get that. It's just an extra 2 minutes, but it makes it
for
so
that
much more
scene.
impactful.
There's a lot more in the film.
It's more impactful, but it also doesn't excuse Scotty bringing his dying nephew to the bridge when Bones isn't even there. It'd be one thing if Bones was there, because Bones is the doctor on duty. There isn't another doctor on the bridge. This was a training cruise. They are not fully crewed. Bones is the only. But
that never made sense to me, but I love the death scene, the whole med bay scene, Kirk walking in, seeing all the corpses, all the dying, the injuries. The injuries are visceral in that moment, something that we've never seen up to this point. And then is the word given? It is given.
Warp speed.
I get choked up with that. That is a beautiful moment.
Over on your side, Jed.
We have a 149 super sticker from Salty Traveling Sea, and it is a popcorn bucket. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the $1.49.
Yes, this is a movie worthy of eating popcorn when you're watching because it's a real movie. It's a real movie.
I need to watch this in theaters. I know that occasionally old movies come to theaters, and this one I would absolutely go out to see just to see it on the big screen for the first time.
The first Star Trek movie I saw in a theater was Voyage Home. That was the first one I saw in a theater because that was the all the others would have been. I was too young to go to a Star Trek movie in a theater for the other ones. But so that's my other complaint.
The first one I saw in theaters was Beyond.
I hate you, child.
The first Star Trek movie I saw was the reboot with the fucking Kobayashi Maru scene, and that was so bad.
He's eating the apple. I hate that. It's so well. You know what's horrible about that is it butchers real lore. Spock didn't create the Kobayashi Maru. He never took it.
Bullshit.
As we learn in this, it's such bullshit. I mean, it totally destroys Spock's line. I never took the Kobayashi Maru. What do you think of my solution? It's like, oh.
If he had made it, he would have had better solutions. He would have already thought about solutions.
Yeah. So moving on. I mean, we're almost at an hour, so we'll go a little bit longer. Because Jed, what's your favorite moment in the movie?
My favorite moment in the movie is probably pretty close to yours, is when they're at the Nebula fight. The Nebula fight is great, and this is something I was referencing earlier, that they thought about the science more than a lot of the other ones, the real-world physics, and I love not thinking in Z-axis, because that's the thing that a lot of people on Earth don't think about. There's no down in space.
Yep.
And space movies, they're pretty much all guilty of it, but ships always approach each other on the same plane, facing the same up and down, and space fights are always like that just exploring that this is a true three-dimensional space with limitless directions and angles of approach, which is why something I'm doing in the book I'm writing right now is there's an invasion force coming to Earth, and everyone assumes, oh yeah, an invasion force, that's going to come from like Pluto or one of the outer planets and come closer to Earth. We're thinking in the elliptical plane of Earth. Why wouldn't it come from above or below our
Yeah.
elliptical plane.
Yeah.
And yeah, just I really appreciate that and just the great combat, the great character work being done. There's so much manipulation being done by
Mhm.
Kirk for Kahn, so much intelligent writing, and it's a lot of it's show. And I
Oh, yeah.
absolutely love
Oh,
this entire fight sequence. It's incredibly well written.
there's a reason I used it in our introduction clip where the Enterprise has just comes up behind the Reliant in the
Mhm.
nebula there, and again, the music is so good. It's for that part of that scene, uh, there it's quiet. It's much the same in when we're talking about when Kirk first encounters the Romulans. It's just silence, like a submarine battle. You're just carefully moving around there, and then da, there comes the Enterprise up behind. It's like yes, yes, and I love the introduction to that scene. Would you care to go again, Kahn? Last time I will butcher the line if keep going because it's not one of the ones I remember clearly every time. But I love he just goads him and he just full power. Damn you! It's just so yes. It's the quips, the back and forth, and
Mhm.
it's
The
it's
back and
quip
forth.
it's quipping
Mhm.
done right.
Yeah,
It's
it's not
not
humorous
yeah.
necessarily. It's quick writing.
It's
There
witty.
there's different types
It's
of
witty.
yeah, witty, that's a perfect word for it. Quips don't have to be stupid jokes. They can be
Yeah.
very witty like that. And I love the scene where most of Khan's crew is dead. He's injured, his hand is burnt to shit, and he's crawling
No.
over there to turn
And he
on the
quotes
Genesis.
Shakespeare. He quotes Shakespeare. What I love in that after that scene, he goes, Kirk just goes, he's predictable. I'll give him that. And they just, but it's that you're right. The Motar Nebula duel is
Mhm.
just a fantastic. It's a fantastically choreographed thing.
It's built
Where
from the ground up so
yeah,
well. The dialogue, the action, just everything has a purpose. It doesn't feel like there's a wasted moment or a wasted idea in it. It's incredibly tight.
from hell's breath I stab at thee. It's so good, and I do love the way he keeps quoting Shakespeare, and it's so good. It's so good, especially when you carry over. You get to eventually Undiscovered Country, where Kang goes, "Have you ever read Shakespeare in the original Klingon?" I love that kind of running gag. How they always bring Shakespeare back around eventually. It's so good. But yeah, that it's such the choreography is great, the dialogue is great, and then of course Spock saving the day. Kirk is helpless in that moment. He's out of ideas. It's just Sulu, go 4,000 kilometers. And of course, you think about that. My God, that's not far enough. That's not far enough. How bad is this explosion going to be?
Oh, 4,000 kilometers is not a whole lot in
I know,
astronomical
I know,
terms.
I know, I know. But it's a it's something that you are fully invested in that point. Are they going to get away? How are they going to do this? Everybody's there. Scotty is half out of it. Spock gets down there, and McCoy's like, "No, you can't go in there. Radiation going to kill you." Doctor, as you're so fond of saying, I'm not human. No human, no man can survive that. And then, of course, Spock goes in there. Now, I've always wondered. Maybe I've had this question asked and answered. I certainly don't remember it clearly. What is Spock doing with the dilithium in there? Exactly. Is he just rearranging it? Is he taking out what's damaged so that maybe they could just I'm not sure exactly what he's doing with the
Mm,
dilithium to make it to get the engine the main core back to nominal levels. I don't know
mhm.
exactly what he's doing there. I
They
look at
they
it, I was
do
thinking
talk about realignment a lot,
yeah, yeah.
but, yeah, I
So
agree. I'm not sure. It's definitely better than kicking it
yeah.
to
Yeah.
make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, Grom says realigning the core. I mean, that's about it. We don't do that on this show, Grom. I will do that happily on Daily Dive. The following the rules, that one. I'll happily do that there. But no, we don't divert to that kind of thing on this show. So keep it as a suggestion for a different stream, different type of stream. But anyway, so yeah, I love that moment. And of course, Spock's sacrifice is thing. Now, in real world, Nimoy said, I'm done. Kill Spock. I don't want to do this anymore. That's the real world situation of that. It's like, yeah, I know I don't do Spock anymore. Kill me. But I want to go out as a hero. And it's great. It's such a great speech. I am and always shall be your friend. And Kirk just no Spock. He was ready to open that door if Scotty and McCoy didn't hold him back.
Mhm.
He was ready to open that door and get him out of there. and his rationality gone, not realizing you're going to flood the entire engineering with radiation if you do that and then kill him. He's dead already. And like you said, the visceral nature of it, Spock is literally melting right there. And also Nimoy's performance at that point, he gets up, straightens his uniform out, but he's already so deteriorated, he walks into the safety glass, or I would assume transparent aluminum. And he walks into it, and it's like, and that you hear that, and you actually go, ooh, because you realize that how far gone he is already.
Mm-hmm.
And that's powerful in that moment. It's not done out of comedy, and it's not done to get a laugh. It's done to make you go, oh man, because you haven't gotten a full look at him yet until the camera shifts and you see his face melting and peeling. And it's so powerful. And then Kirk just like, no, my best friend is dead. But he saved us all. Spock saved everybody, and I love it. And I love it. And I love it.
Spock's death is just so hard hitting every time, especially with the TOS watch through right before it. And they could definitely ruin this moment by having Kirk yell Kahn then instead of when he did earlier on in the film. And we didn't talk about that just real quick. I love the trick, the non-verbal trick that Spock and Kirk immediately play. They don't even have to talk to each other about faking the Enterprise's damage level.
If we go by the book. By the book. Hours could seem like days.
It's so brilliantly done.
Yeah, and I love that I love that segment. Again, there's no missed moment of the dialogue. Kirk, Kahn, you bloodsucker! Kirk, still alive, my old friend. Yes, old friend. Still alive. Like a bad marksman, you keep missing the target. I know I left the part out there, but it's such back and forth. And then Kahn just going, I'm done trying to kill you. I want to go on hurting you. I want to leave you buried alive. I want to make you suffer like you made her suffer. I mean, that's the thing. Kahn's entire motivation is revenge. Just pure revenge for the death of his traitorous wife, the traitorous bitch. Traitor to Starfleet. But I mean, and I just love the moment. Buried alive. Then God. It's all done so well. I mean, today it would be cringe to have a man go, God! But there...
11 years ago, it'd be really cringe.
Yeah, it was.
It was
terrible.
I hate that movie so much. Into Darkness is the worst of the three, I think.
Rightfully so. But in this, it works because one, performances. And just to talk about the performances, everybody's great. Everybody's great. I enjoy it all. I love Ricardo Montalban. I love him. He's just that is up, and that's him. There's no prosthetics. He was that fit at that point. That man was fit back then. It's just so good.
We got a Mexican playing an Indian who got recast as a white guy in the remake.
I know. It's glorious. Hey, man, you checked a lot of boxes that way. It's fine. But he's fantastic. Shatner we talk about in a particular movie we're going to be discussing very soon. I use this term a lot, gravitas. Montalblanc owns every scene he's in. There's gravitas with Kahn. Shatner owns every scene. Does he chew a little scenery? Yes. But that's Shatner, and that's what he's good at, and it's great. Nimoy owns the scenes. There is gravitas all over this movie. And that's what if you're putting people in important roles, they need to be able to command a scene. And that is something severely lacking in current day entertainment. People who can command a scene. That's why Patrick Stewart was great as Jean-Luc Picard. He was the anchor. He held down that crew because he brought gravitas to every scene. And as the series goes on, the other actors learn to command scenes because they got comfortable with the roles because you had a veteran actor able to hold it down. And of course, at this point, you have a bunch of actors who are familiar with their characters at this point. These are the crew of the original Enterprise. They know what they're doing.
Dude, there are people who say the Star Trek should have just started with the movies. We don't need TOS, or you don't need to watch TOS. I see that as so wrong. Yes, there are flaws with TOS, especially the Earth clones every 2 minutes. I mean, it's a restriction of the set design
Budget.
capabilities as much as anything. But the reason why these characters are so flushed out, even if Wrath of Khan's the first one you see, and you're still going to enjoy it, but that's because these actors know these roles perfectly. They didn't have to experiment. They didn't have to play around and figure out where they slotted in. They had the preparation for it. So even if you just start with the movies, that's fine. I guess I think you should watch TOS, but starting with the
Yeah.
movies is fine. But the movies are as good as they are because of the show. And I'm disappointed to see how many people dismiss the show these days. There are a
Yeah.
ton of people who say they're Star Trek fans have never seen TOS.
As a
And that's
little
just disappointing to me.
as a little kid, my entry was TOS. It wasn't continual, but I watched a few, and then of course, because I was a kid, they had the animated series on the original TOS animated series where it had the original crew being the voice actors for it. So I got a lot of Star Trek injection that way. And then it's here, kid, watch the movies. At that point, watch the 3 movies that exist up to this point. And of course, I rewatched these movies over and over again as a kid. And when they released Voyage Home, I was like, oh, Star Trek movie, let's go. I was so excited for a Star Trek movie because I had been educated in how good Star Trek is. And the fact that Star Trek, even as an intellectual show, can be appealing to kids because it doesn't treat an audience like idiots. So this is why I love Star Trek. We could keep going on and on, and
Yeah.
there are so many.
The older I get, the more I love
Yeah,
Star
me
Trek,
too.
and the higher it gets in my list of favorite
Oh yeah.
franchises.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's right there at the top. There's a reason when I created the whole intro movie that we have for this. It's a reason after Star Wars, which is my favorite thing, Star Trek comes right away because let's bring the Titans out first. Let's bring the Titans of science fiction out and remind everybody where it all began. The only reason Doctor Who isn't there because there's no real Doctor Who movie that I could throw in there because this is a drive-in, and even though we
don't
covered
put
Doctor
the
Who,
don't put the TV movie in there.
nah. Anyway, so let's wrap it up. I mean, we could keep going and going, but I've once again, there are so many ways to talk about this movie. I feel today we've done a version of talking about the movie. I'm sure in some way, shape, or form in other streams we will always come back and talk about Star Trek. We do it frequently on Mellow Mondays because Samuel the Infamous, another one I co-host, he is also a massive Trek fan. Every Wednesday, you can go to Duke Devil, Bradley Burnett's channel. You can go to his Duke Devil 95, and we talk DS9 every week right now. Although we're coming up on a break because he's gonna go on vacation. But either way, I'm constantly talking Star Trek right now, and I love it. It's great. I'm having a great time. It's constantly on my mind, and I'm having a great time. But so it was my week, so I get to go first. You've heard my few criticisms of how this goes. And my few little bit of criticisms I did mention are the only reason that I dropped this down to a 9.5. Because it is just this movie encapsulates everything great about Star Trek. Great character work, the solid science fiction, the science behind the science fiction is out there. It's fun, it's relatable. It honors itself by bringing back Kahn from Space Seed, and of course the Jerry Goldsmith score is spectacular. Jerry Goldsmith, the man who created the sound of Star Trek. You can't get away from that. And I love everybody's performances, and the original crew of the Enterprise are some of the all-time greats, even though they all hated each other in real life. They all hated each other, but that's fine. I can accept that. I
Sulu's
love it.
barely in this movie. He's just sitting there the whole time.
Yeah. Listen. Takei can go F right off that man. Well, in Undiscovered Country, the only way they could get him to come back is if they could
be a captain.
Captain, yeah. And guess what? You'll be in here for a minute. But
he chose captain over screen time.
Yeah. Just so he could try and get one over Shatner. Listen.
Shatner was an admiral, so that's not getting one.
Well, no, that's the captain. He's been reduced in rank.
Oh, that's right.
At the end of Voyage Home, his punishment is reduced in rank and given command of the Enterprise A. Oh darn!
How terrible!
Darn. That's terrible. But yeah, those two men, their sole existence is to outlive each other at this point. That's kind of their reason for living, to outlive.
I'm on Shatner's side.
Oh, we're all on the Shatner.
I don't want Shatner to ever die. He's 95, and he's still sharp. He's
Yeah,
in
I
his
think he's
90s.
94. I think he's 94. He's
94.
94.
But
Yeah.
I do follow him on Twitter, and he's still hilarious. He's
Yeah.
still great.
All right, so I give it 9.5 out of 10. A 9.5 out of 10. Jed, what are you giving it?
I think this is the best Star Trek film, which is one of the best science fiction franchises out there. So I put this up as one of the greatest science fiction films and really established the genre in at least the film science fiction realm. Because, yeah, you have Star Wars that established the norm for the space fantasy, and Star Trek, I think, established the mainstream science fiction without the more fantastical elements of Star Wars. So I think this is a pivotal film in Hollywood's history that we can't forget. I do consider that stuff with the inciting incident and Kahn's involvement in the story as just being a wave of coincidences that are hard for me to swallow, and that detracts a lot of points for me because it's several coincidences stacked on top of each other. Love it once he's in the film. He's phenomenal as a villain. I just feel like there were better ways to get him involved without being like, yeah, we forgot he was an Alpha Ceti, even though I said he's an Alpha Ceti, and we forgot that the sixth planet, we thought the fifth planet was now the sixth planet. That doesn't make sense to me. The Genesis device is more a me thing, a more subjective issue with the film, in my opinion. And then Spock getting resurrected is Search for Spock's problem.
Yeah.
So I have to give this a lower rating than I'd otherwise like to because of that Kahn stuff, though, at the beginning of the film. Otherwise, it's incredibly well written, incredibly well put together. And tonally, I think the tone is one of the greatest parts of the film, the more serious tone. And it made something new. And I think we needed something new and exciting in Star Trek at this time. And it paved the way to the next generation. It kept the franchise going. So I have to give this an 8.5 out of 10.
That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm not going to yell at you. Chat might, but I won't. I accept it. Listen, it could get a whole lot worse. Anyway, so there you go. Another one of the books. Jed, do you have a movie pick for next week yet?
I do, and I have not run this one past you. I don't even know if we've talked about this film, so I don't know how you're going to react to my choice. I feel like it's going to be okay.
Live reaction right here. Here we go.
All right, I decided it was time for a little bit of a dumb, fun action film with some meat to it, so we still have a great conversation. Okay. I decided to pick the unofficial James Bond sequel, The Rock.
It's been a long time since I watched that movie. Now, listen, I love me my Sean Connery. And I'm going to have thoughts on this. I'm one of those people that thinks this movie gets way more love than it deserves. So it's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination. And I love Sean Connery. But I don't get a hard on for this movie the way a lot of people do. I just don't. But hey, it's a good movie. And I picked our next one. I'll tell you what it is when we're out. I figured out my next one. This is in response to a recent announcement that I feel is abominable. So I feel that we must watch a better version. Anyway, so thank you everybody for joining us once again. I'm glad my power didn't go. We had a massive thunderstorm here while it was going on. My internet went out twice for a minute before the show started. So I was like, just go, storm, go. Through. It didn't blink out. I made it the whole way through. So thank you everybody for watching us. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Jed, I'm almost at 4,000.
Hell yeah.
My Superman review is doing some stuff. So if you haven't watched it here in the real life moment, go check out my James Gunn Superman review.
Oh, get it right. James Gunn presents James Gunn Superman, a James Gunn film.
Yeah. Go check it out. I am not kind. So thank you, everybody. Subscribe to the channels. Hit those like buttons. And we'll see you next time. Until then, everybody, take it easy.